What is the White House's response to concerns already expressed from progressive Democrats that President Biden is giving too many concessions and debt ceiling talks with Republicans? Zeke noted the consideration of expanded work requirements for some federal aid, the future spending on future spending caps on discretionary funds that has been discussed, as well as permit reform. All this we're hearing is coming out of these debt ceiling talks.
So I'm going to be very careful. I'm not going to negotiate from the podium. As you know, there's going to be a meeting very, very shortly that the president's going to have with the four leaders, and also the president's team has been, and the congressional members, their team have been meeting for the past several days, and it's been, as we see it, very productive. This is a president has been around the block a few times, right? When you think about negotiations, he knows how to make deals. He knows how this works, and there's no one more experienced in knowing how to get this done. And if you look at the record of this president, if you think about the Inflation Reduction Act of the last 2 years, you think about the gun safety legislation, you think about the PACT Act, you think about the bipartisan infrastructure legislation that's clearly now law. Those are things that shows that the president understands how to get through these negotiations, how to bring people to the table, and that's what you're going to continue to see from this president next, at least today. We'll see what happens. Okay.
Thanks, Karine. I just wanted to ask what you guys felt about some of the timing that has been discussed, with Republicans saying they need that a deal would need to be completed by this weekend. Obviously, the president knows Congress well. Do you agree with that timing? Do you feel there's more time?
I mean, look, we've been very clear. This is, when it comes to the debt limit, that's something that should have been done a while ago. We've been very clear about that. The fact that Republicans in Congress, MAGA Republicans, are threatening default, holding our economy hostage, that shouldn't be. That is not regular order. That is not what is supposed to be happening. We've done it 78 times since 1960. And so this should have been done some time ago. And so if they are so concerned about the timeline, then they should get to work and do their constitutional duty.
Do you feel like there is a chance, or how much of a chance is there that you guys could reach an agreement by the weekend? You know, obviously the president would be in Asia, but could you reach the agreement by? Do you have any level of confidence that you could finish by this weekend?
So look, I'm not going to get into hypotheticals. The president is going to be meeting with congressional members in the next 15, 20 minutes. Look, the way that we see this process going, as you asked me about a deadline, a timeline, it should be done right now. Sooner the better. We should get this done. There's no reason for Congress to wait any longer to do their job. There's no reason to be waiting. And just a couple more. We heard from economists, the urgency from economists, business leaders, including small business leaders across the country, and more CEOs. We've heard from them saying how catastrophic this could be if Republicans get their way. So Congress needs to prevent default, and they need to do it before the X date, and that is critical, and that is key, and that is important to do. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Thanks, Karine. Last week when the president met with the congressional leaders, most folks emerged from that meeting saying this was essentially both sides restating their positions, not much progress was made. Can you set expectations for today? How much progress do you expect to be made? Do you think that there will be more progress than there was last week?
So I'm not going to get ahead of this meeting, certainly not going to get ahead of what's going to come out of it. I will say this. When you think about the four leaders, what they came out and said, 3 of the 4 said that we needed to avoid default. So 3 of the 4 were with the president about avoiding default. And so that's also very important, and that's also really key. And that's what the president has been stating over and over and over again. And so we'll see what happens. The meeting's is gonna kind of happen in the next 20 minutes or so, right after this briefing is done, I presume. And we'll let the leaders talk amongst themselves, and the president's going to make it very clear that they need to do their job and do their constitutional duty.
And then following up on something Zeke was asking about, you've said that the White House isn't negotiating over raising the debt ceiling, but the president and his team have been actively negotiating with Republican congressional leaders over spending. They're rushing to get a deal before June 1. How is that not negotiating over default?
The way that we see these conversations, and we continue to be clear, default is not negotiable. It should be done without conditions. That has not changed with us. We are having conversations about the budget. We are having conversations about appropriation, which is regular order, which is what is supposed to be happening year after year. This is the conversations that have occurred.
That wouldn't be happening till September,
Look,
right?
look,
so what is the time pressure on doing negotiations now over spending.
Look, there are many examples of simultaneous conversations on spending and preventing default. That is nothing new. What we're saying is that they should not connect the two, that they should get the job done, and that we're going to have the conversation about budget, and we're going to continue to say, hold the line here and be really, really firm, and say that negotiating on default is not an option. And so that's what the president has said. You've heard from him directly over the last couple of days, as many of your colleagues have had the opportunity to ask him that very question. You're hearing from the president of the United States, who has said that this is not about the debt limit. There's no negotiating around the debt limit. They should do their constitutional duty and move forward.